Just wanted to make a little update for the gravity assisted solenoid motor. I've got the motor now mounted on a plastic base 4x6, and this piece here is 2 inches wide and it's 12 inches tall and inch thick. Now I have bearings in this plastic. I actually made a hub and put the bearings in a hub, but you wouldn't have to do that with the bearings I showed in a previous video. You could just bore a 1/2 inch hole and push them into the plastic. Now this flywheel right here, that's up here, is actually one of these pieces from a speaker that we talked about in an earlier video. And it had to be cut off on the back here, and the piece that was cut off is now over here being used as a hub to keep the shaft from moving back and forth in the hole. And now, one of the reasons I call this the gravity assisted motor is because when this is at the top up here, what we're going to do is let it free fall. And when it free falls, it actually goes back almost up to here. So we'll only have to power this for maybe 95 or 100 degrees of the rotation. And down here you can see the mount for the solenoid. This is made out of a piece of plastic cutting board, 3/8 inch thick. You can buy them at Walmart cheap. And this was cut out. The holes were drilled in the corners. This was cut to perfectly fit this solenoid. So the solenoid actually pushes into it. And then I'll probably just use a nylon tie to hold it on so that it can't fall out. Now the important thing with this is you have to have a space right here when it's all the way down or whether it's all the way up. You got to make sure there's a space in there and that it doesn't hit. And another thing I wanted to mention is these solenoids, like this solenoid here, there's no metal in the solenoid at all. No steel of any kind. This is just an epoxy block with a coil inside of it. That's all it is. You can't have any kind of steel insert in there or this won't work, because it'll drag inside of the steel sleeve. Because this right here is a really powerful north pole on this. And another thing about this motor is, reversing the polarity on these, this solenoid is dual direction. So it will push in either direction depending on the power that's hooked to it. Whether this one is plus or this one is plus makes a difference on which way it runs. So, you know, that's something to think about. But for this application, we're only going to use it in one direction, not both directions. But I may change it in the future. And we're also going to make a triggering mechanism over here. Going to try to keep it simple so anybody can make it. And that's going to be in a future video. And also this plastic bracket right here had to be rounded out so that the magnet wouldn't hit it. And this was all done on a drill press pretty much. And this is the drill press over here. And this is how the rounded out part was cut. If you have a little machinist vise and a drill press, you can just take one of these carbide wheels, push the table over toward the wheel, and then you just bring this down. And it will actually cut a nice round groove down through. And you can use it to cut plastic, steel, aluminum. These discs will cut anything, and it does a perfect job if you have a nice little vise and like that. So that's it for now.